Thanks for joining us again for another episode from the South Coast, Jared. Up at Mollymook, an old hangout of ours for when we were younger. Tonight's episode, we go back to Halloween, back to Haddonfield for 1988's Halloween 4. But before we get to that, Jared, what have you been watching recently?
A fair bit, actually. Went back to a couple of Marvel movies. Checked out Black Panther for obvious reasons. Also went back to Iron Man, so two of the better ones. I finally got around to checking out Chappie. Which I'd sort of left for a while, and it's kind of been on the radar, but
I heard it's not great.
No, it's not. It's got some things that could have worked out all right, but it's kind of like a violent sort of short circuit in some ways. Like Chappie, the character, I'm kind of laughing at him because of the way he's talking, but yeah, it's a bit. It wasn't great.
No,
it wasn't all that good. I jumped into a bit of Chev Chelios. Crank. Peak Statham, would you say?
Look, I vaguely remember seeing that the first time. It was alright. It was a bit balls to the wall, but it was just a bit too much for me.
It's absolute
too
nonsense.
over the top.
It's absolute nonsense, which results in a couple of decent scenes, but the entire movie is just one sequence to the next. How can we sort of top it? And
yeah,
there wasn't really a story. The story was very, very thin, so yeah, it was okay. I checked out Spiral on Shudder.
Okay, well, finally, fucking Shudder gives us something.
Came up with something.
And how was it?
I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
People have sort of compared it to Get Out, which is a fair comparison because it's more the kind of the social relationships and social sort of the dynamics of particular sort of circumstances, I guess. But I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good in the end. A couple of good acting performances, I think, kept it afloat.
Is this an original of theirs?
It's an original for them. I moved on from the horror stuff and got into a bit more kind of adventure-y and action-y sort of stuff. I got onto... I watched the two old Bill and Ted movies.
Oh, yeah.
In preparation to watch the
Play some music.
Newer one, which I haven't done yet. But yeah, it was good to get back to the older ones. Bit of a laugh. I mean, I watched a few sequences in the second movie where I thought, I remember this being really funny, but it's not. But overall, it was good fun to go back to them.
Yeah.
One that I would recommend heavily if you've got sort of younger kids around, Camp Cretaceous, Jurassic Park, Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous on Netflix, which was only about eight episodes, sort of 20 minutes long. Bloody good.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. My kids really enjoyed it too, but I thought it was a nice little... I mean, the animation's fairly cheap. You can tell they made it on the cheap. But the kind of relationships they cultivate between the characters are pretty good.
Solid.
Yeah. On the flip side of that, I watched The Rim of the World.
McGee, he's back.
McGee, yeah. Lucky.
I also dabbled in some McGee.
Yeah, lucky he kind of lifted up again with another babysitter movie because I think his stock might have dropped a little bit.
No, I thought it held quite nicely.
No, it did not. It did not. I think it plummeted off The Rim of the
World.
World.
Rim of the World was cheap as chips too.
It was.
If you actually look closely at it, it's pretty cheap.
That hurt it a little bit, but it was the writing was subpar. It was very down the line.
It was a bit.
Characters were.
It peaked from better films too. If you look closely at it.
Well, that's it. It did
from a heap of different movies,
and it didn't do any of it nearly as well.
It had McGee behind the lens.
It was very flat.
That's what it did well.
No. I think McGee really he needed to come back after that one. I checked out Enola Holmes.
Yes.
On Netflix.
It's on my list.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with it. I thought it was pretty good. Got a kind of, I think you'll like the sort of whodunit type of element. It's not super deep on that front, but there's a little bit of adventure and whatnot. Yeah. I thought it was pretty solid. And I worked my way through Tremors 2 to 6.
Oh.
So, no, look, it was a lot of fun. Because I'm also sort of concurrently reading Seeking Perfection, which is sort of an unofficial kind of telling of the story of it, and has some interviews with cast and crew and whatnot.
Bacon?
They talk briefly to Bacon in there. I was pleasantly surprised with how they mostly hold up. Like 2's pretty good fun. I remember 2 being significantly better than 3 and 4, but I actually didn't think so this time. I thought 2 was all right, but 3, probably went side by side with it, and I actually enjoyed 4, the one that's a prequel. I enjoyed that a lot more. I mean, it's got a bit of a one-note gag to do with Bert's ancestor, but the opening sort of 40 minutes of that one, they craft some really solid connections between Bert and not Bert, his ancestor Hiram, and the townspeople. So I reckon that one held up pretty well as well. Overall, they were pretty good fun. Really,
5 and 6?
It's 5 and 6 where it starts to fall off, because that's where it was the cheap, the cheapness came in, and it was out of the hands of the original sort of creators. Because I think Wilson and Maddock hung around right up until part 4 and alternated sort of directing and producing and whatever. Put it this way, part 6 is supposedly set in the snow. The opening scene is in the snow, but it's shot in sand with a balance or a filter put over the top to make the sand look white. So it doesn't quite hold up in that regard.
I think I'll steer clear of 5 and 6.
No, check it out, because you got to watch them.
Do I have to watch the whole?
You got to watch them before you jump into Shrieker Island.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Shrieker Island. It was on its way. How could I not forget that Shrieker Island was on the way? What else you got? Anything?
That's it.
That's the group. All right. I went to McGee. I saw the Babysitter Killer Queen. Look, I enjoyed it for what it was. It's not as good as the first one. Not even close, really. But it still does a nice job of combining a little bit of humour with some horror and a bit of pop culture and stuff like that. I didn't realise that Samara Weaving would return. I didn't actually think of that.
I had an inkling.
And then I got an inkling when things went down about halfway through. You get that feeling, Well,
they showed a bit in the trailer, and I thought, I reckon it's her, but it'll be a cameo. And really, it sort of was. She wasn't in it for long. Spoilers, if you haven't checked that.
Yeah. If you haven't checked it out yet, spoilers. But look, decent enough sequel. I signed up to Tubi against your
good move. No, I've been championing it. I've been championing that.
I went through Tubi and managed to find about 40 movies I would have watched. And so I started off with...
Is that an indictment on Tubi or yourself?
Probably on me, because when you hear the first couple that I got to, I went to The Mutilator, a workman-like 80s slasher, late 80s, probably about 85, 86, like the slasher... No, sorry, I think it might have been 83, but the slasher genre was going out by then. Look, the gore effects and stuff like that are really good, but the reasoning behind why this person's doing it is just fucking lunacy. It's ludicrous. Like, I was just watching it going, this is how far we stooped. Stooped to this level. So, look, it was a time waster. I then watched a little killer cockroach film called They Nest with Dean Stockwell as the sheriff. It was actually alright, surprisingly, because it was a TV movie. I was thinking it was going to be an absolute pile of shit. But it was passable in terms of it was decently made, special effects were okay. It's a little bit slow. You expect a movie like that to really just pile on the B-movie thrills. Just fucking dive into bugs everywhere. But it kind of spends... It actually does a decent job setting up some characters, but too long. So it's almost an hour before really the bugs start taking control. So I was a little bit disappointed in that. But other than that, I was thinking Tubi's 2 for 2 for me.
I don't know about that. God.
2 for 2. I then I've kept up with The Mist, the TV show. Watched the next 4 episodes, 4, 5, 6. Look, you can kind of see why it didn't take. They've put some interesting elements in, but it's just not interesting enough, The show has room to grow if you wanted to, but I just feel it's not growing in the right place. And that's kind of, I think, the reason why it went after a season. I watched Challenger, The Final Flight, the Netflix documentary about the Challenger space shuttle explosion. It was interesting to find out what actually went wrong, what the reason why it exploded, and the fact that potentially people knew about this and there was some bad calls made, because the decision to launch was in a really, really cold night. But the night before they launched was really, really cold, and they were saying it's not a good idea to launch under these conditions. But they decided to do it anyway. So yeah, it was interesting stuff, but it's certainly not essential, I would say. I went and watched RoboCop, the remake. Mm-hmm. Look, not bad. I still can't understand why they went the way they went, though, in trying to differentiate it.
Yeah.
That Murphy already knew who he was, and then they slowly kind of pushed it out of him using drugs.
Yeah.
So it was kind of counter to what the original had done.
It was silly. I found that to be probably the worst thing.
Whereas the better idea would have been to take the original's notion of Murphy finding his memories again.
Yeah.
But just build on it, perhaps. Flesh out some deeper characterizations, maybe. Because the film still had plenty of fucking flash and bang and, shootouts and special effects and stuff. I don't see myself watching the remake again. I think.
Until the next time. Watch the other ones.
I'm kind of surprised that I watched it this time.
No.
I just kind of stumbled across it.
Because you'll go back to RoboCop at some point and then you'll go, gee, what about 2 and 3 again? I better really just sort of reacquaint myself with those, and then you'll think about the remake. Look, and off you go. It's just a vicious cycle.
I am making this determination right now. You heard it here first. I will not watch RoboCop 3 ever again. I'm telling you, I won't.
Let's talk in a year and a half and see what you got to say.
RoboCop 3 is blacklisted. I have a small list and it's on there. The last thing for me was I actually watched Bumblebee. Came to Netflix, and I remember when I saw it in the cinema, I absolutely loved it. Yep. I thought it was fantastic. When it opened with Cybertron, I was going, oh my God, what was I thinking? Because the opening sequences are just awful.
Yeah.
They are awful. But as soon as it gets out of Cybertron and gets to Earth, and it actually builds a relationship, a really good relationship between Haley Steinfeld and Bumblebee, it's fantastic. And I think I really like the way they handle the sort of romance element between her and the bloke who lives across the road. I think they do a really, really good job. Excellent film. But that is it for me.
Right.
All right, let's take a break. Here's the trailer for 1988's Halloween 4.
10 years ago, on the night of October 31st, a small Midwestern town fell victim to an escaped killer. Under the cover of darkness, he carried out the most horrifying mass murder on record. 16 people in cold blood. Ever since that night, no one has forgotten his name. And Halloween has never been the same. Now, Michael Myers has come home. He has returned for one more night of unholy terror. Michael! He's here to kill that little girl and anybody who gets in his way. Oh, God! Who's gonna be next? Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Maybe nobody knows how to stop him.
Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers from 1988, directed by Dwight H. Little, directed one of Brandon Lee's early action pieces, Rapid Fire, produced by Paul Freeman, who produced A Hobo's Christmas. I didn't look into it any further.
Okay.
I'll let the title do the talking.
Yeah.
The story is by Darnie Lipsis, Larry Ratner, who wrote Genuine Risk, and Benjamin Ruffner, and Alan B. McElroy, who wrote the classic Ballistic X vs. Sever. I was looking at his resume thinking, shit. He also wrote the screenplay.
Yep.
It stars Donald Pleasance as Dr. Sam Loomis, Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd, Ellie Cornell as Rachel Carruthers, Sasha Jensen as Brady, and Bo Starr as Sheriff Ben Meeker. The budget was $5 million. The box office was $17.7 million worldwide. Alan McElroy wrote the script in 11 days and beat a writer's strike by mere hours. Also, it was number one at the box office for 2 straight weeks, which is, I don't think any... Well, the most recent Halloween must have done that, but I think most of the others kind of number one, first weekend, see you later. All right, Halloween 4, Jared.
Right.
How do you feel?
Well, I'm probably one of the people that falls onto the sort of the more positive side of this one. I know it takes things from the first 2 movies and pretty much tries to rehash elements, but at times it does it fairly well. I can see where people don't sort of go along with this one in terms of it's where Michael started to mimic Jason a little bit, which is kind of, Jason was created as a copy of Michael, but then this is the one where you start to sort of see him displaying this fucking strength where he's throwing people around and doing things like that weren't necessarily part of what he was doing earlier on. That said, it ticks enough boxes for me. There's sequences that I really like visually, a couple that are kind of exciting and get a few few scares when you need them. Not enough Loomis. Needed a fair bit more Loomis to keep it afloat in certain sections. There was a couple of points where it got a little bit slow, and I think, just injecting a little bit of ranting and raving from Loomis might have kept me interested.
Can always get you excited.
But it's short and sharp, and I quite like it. So I think I would go for a 3.
3?
I think. Fairly positive on the 3. There's certain times where I'd be pushing more towards a 3.5, but after today's viewing, I set it on a 3.
Okay. Look, to me, it's a really solid entry in the franchise. There's a lot of talk about how it's really slow and boring. I didn't really get that. It does slow down in the second half. Is actually kind of where it should be ramping towards a really exciting finale. It kind of does go a little slower, and I totally understand that. But I think that the first 45 minutes is actually very well paced. And the film has a number of really strong set pieces. Look, it's got its warts, but I think the atmosphere is there, and honestly, my personal opinion, it's actually a slight improvement over part 2. And I give it 3.5.
Yeah, I actually, I can't remember what we ranked it when we actually went through the series.
It was pretty high.
I think I might have had it above part 2. I mean, people talk about how this is a copy of part 1, but part 2 retains all these elements, and I actually think part 2 is more of a copy, just with ramping up. Part 2 is just a straight out taking exactly what John Carpenter did. This one... Yeah, it does, and it takes sort of story elements, but it tries to go a little bit differently with putting the kid front and centre. It does take that from the original, that whole Jamie Lee and the kids angle there, but putting Jamie in that kid role and Ellie as kind of her protector in that kind of Laurie role, it was kind of nice to have that back. There's something about that works. Yeah. But I'm the same. It's not too far. Like I still enjoy Halloween 2.
Oh no,
but there's points where I would say I preferred this one.
I gave Halloween 2 3, I believe, and I just feel this is just a little bit better made. That's my personal opinion. As I said, this is a bit of a polarising one. Yeah. Now some people hate it. Hate it. And it's kind of 50-50 split between people who hate it and people who love it. I'm falling in the love it category, I think. It's also one of the early ones that I saw. I hadn't seen the first couple at all, I think. I think the first one I saw was Halloween 4. To get into the likes immediately, the opening credits, I think, are really, really striking.
Yeah, really cool.
They do a really good job of setting the atmosphere and the fall, the feeling of fall, and all those cool sort of shots of like pitchforks sticking out and weird looking Halloween decorations, and it's in a farm setting, and and there's the background, it's all overcast skies and everything. I think
it sets really the tone. It sets the tone that Halloween's not kind of what it used to be.
Yeah.
It's sort of it is a bit of a haunted kind of holiday for this place.
Kind of gets things off on a bit of a creepy note.
Yeah.
It kind of starts well there. I really like the line, and I've got a dislike to this particular character, but the guard at the mental hospital.
Couple of dislikes around that.
There's a bit of amusement there too.
Yeah.
But when they hear some screaming and the ambulance driver goes, Jesus, and the dude turns around and says, Jesus ain't got nothing to do with this place.
Yeah.
I really like that kind of, because again, it sets that kind of creepy tone about where we are.
Yeah,
we're somewhere very, very dangerous.
It's in line with Loomis.
Yeah.
Talking about evil and all that sort of stuff. So it fits.
There's a quick conversation that I kind of dug between the Dr. Hoffman character at the sanitarium and the Ambos that kind of insinuates Loomis is on the outer.
Yeah.
And I liked that. It was really short but sweet. It kind of sort of said, look, the guy's basically, he's just a ceremonial player. He doesn't need to be consulted about what happens with Michael Myers and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, of course.
But just putting him on the outer before we even see him for the first time.
Yeah. I mean, because why would you treat a man that killed 16 people as as dangerous?
Yeah. Bad fuck. He's in a coma. He's fine. Don't worry about that.
He's fine. Those conversations at the start were very heavy on the let's get all the exposition dumped out of the way.
And that sort of comes back in my dislikes in that section, because it does kind of just dribble out all this exposition about the first couple of movies to try and tie it all back.
They peppered a few lines in there to keep it kind of snappy at points.
And then, parts of that stuff, I still like the way that stuff was shot, and, it's raining, apart from a cameo from a bloke that comes up later in our dislikes, but most of that sequence is played straight.
Yeah.
And it looks good.
Yep.
I'd really dig the souped up Halloween theme with the pumping sort of bass and everything in it.
Yeah.
I think that it kind of feels like it's pushing everything forward. It's pushing us towards Haddonfield.
There's points where it feels slightly overused, but you're right, they do kind of, at some points it's got a bit more pep to it than other points. And
I think it works, especially when they say, she does a quick check on Michael and she just goes, move him, and then it goes, and it comes in really hard. I really like that a lot. Yeah. Sets a real tone about, and the scene that we're heading to Haddonfield and everything's sort of ramping up now. Michael's about to come alive.
Compare and contrast. Friday the 13th disco theme, souped up Halloween.
Look, Friday the 13th disco theme still packs the dance floor.
Yeah, that's right.
So this one's not quite there.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't put this one on a Club 54 and
No, you couldn't. It's not quite there, but I just like the way they've taken the old score and just pushed it up a little notch, not tried to reinvent it.
Yeah.
Which is what a lot of remakes and sequels try and do. They kind of try and reinvent those things that are there. I really like the dream sequence in Jamie's room.
Yeah.
I think it works really well.
It does work out pretty well.
And they use the Halloween cues, She looks out the window and she sees the ambulance there, and then the lightning flashes as she's walking across in front of the mirror and he's just standing in the mirror. I think there's a really top-class shot there where he sits up in the darkness and then the lightning flashes and he's looking at her, I thought that stuff was great.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Michael probably looks his best in that sequence. Because I think maybe you might have a few negatives towards the way Michael was portrayed.
Oh, not heavily, but there might be one or two.
I just really liked all that stuff, and it kind of brings in the new characters, gives us a little bit of exposition about them her being a foster child, and that her mum's gone and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then throws Michael into it. And it's a dream sequence, so he kind of, it takes a little bit of a slight turn, he's coming up out of the bed and then she opens the door and he's in front of her, those sorts of things. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of time for Loomis in this. I mean,
so did I.
I shit on the bloke in the first one about being hammy. Maybe because the first one was more straightforward.
Look, I think you were just wrong.
Well,
quite simply.
I couldn't see there was a pair of tits there, so You know, in the first movie, I couldn't work out there was a pair of tits, so what do I know?
That's right. Yeah, you really need to reevaluate it.
Exactly. But I thought he was good here. And over the top was needed.
Well, it's kind of more of the same. He's a little bit more over the top in the later ones, I feel, including this one. But he still works. The delivery of some of those lines, like when he walks into the bloody sheriff's station and he goes, 6 buddy! That's what I've seen!
Just fucking firing it.
But that's what you need. You know, he's the only one. I mean, that's his role. His role is to play a bit of urgency while everyone else is talking mass murderer. Yeah. What are you talking about? Yeah. You don't know what you're talking about. He hasn't been around here in 5 years. That role is, again, it's something that didn't
He kind of ups the ante. He sort of brings a sense of urgency to things.
Yeah, they they just did exactly the same as they did. He played the same role as he did in the first couple of movies, where he's trying to convince. The difference in this one is the sheriff doesn't argue for long. Just says let's go, and doesn't fucking blame Loomis. as they did in some of the other ones.
And he still gets to punch out a few of those, classic sort of Loomis lines.
Yeah, they're not on par with the first movie, but he still has a couple of those lines that are delivered with the gravitas you would expect from a veteran who's had a couple of drinks before the cameras roll.
Judging by the making of, it was more than a couple. But, he still delivers.
Yeah.
Which is good to see. I like the gas station sequence.
Yep.
Where they come face to face.
Where it was played by
Tom Morgan.
Pseudo Jason.
Yeah. He for some reason got the sack. They didn't really sort of get enough. We didn't get a lot of information.
There wasn't an explanation.
To explain why he was flicked.
He just got told that he wasn't moving in the way that they expected, but maybe we could have given him a direction to move differently.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I didn't feel like there was a huge
not later on. And I also didn't see much difference between what he was doing in the brief sequences we see him in and what the later Michael was doing. I mean, maybe it just comes down to preference, who you prefer to work with. I don't know.
Yeah, it could have been something like that. Who knows?
Now, Wade getting told to fuck off.
Genius.
That's a discount, Bart.
I mean, who would have thought that someone being told to fuck off would still be providing us
ample laughs,
all those years later. I laughed just as hard this time.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's just something about it.
I think his reaction too. He's real cocky, and then she goes, "Fuck off, Wade," and then the kind of look he turns around,
and then he kind of skulks off like a little boy who's been scolded.
I'm laughing just thinking about it.
Yeah,
pure genius.
It was good. Nice little touch of humour. Chucked in there.
Yep.
Sheriff Meeker. Huge tick for Sheriff Meeker.
Yeah, you love a bit of Sheriff.
I do. He's actually my favourite character in the film. And I would like to have seen more of him.
Yeah, well, I think he was pretty good. I think there's probably not more of him because he doesn't throw up a wall to Loomis.
Yeah.
He actually takes him for his word.
Yeah.
So rather than sort of stopping, rather than getting the sort of...
being the kind of roadblock to Loomis.
He kind of goes along with it. Which is probably why we like him a little bit more. But in terms of the story, the reason for him to be there other than as kind of sidekick to Loomis isn't really there.
Yeah, and I just liked him. He's tough, resourceful.
Yeah.
I really like that line to Brady. And if I catch you groping my daughter again, I'll use that shotgun on you. Understand?
Yeah.
He's like, fucking shit. Dawdles off. I just really like him. He's no nonsense. He's tough. He's the kind of sheriff you could see in a town like this. He reminded me a little bit of Brackett in certain points. And I thought it was a good move, to have a really strong, that guy's been around, I think, Bo Starr. He's had plenty of acting work over his career, and he's quite a solid performer in this.
Yeah.
So, I really like Meeker. I'd love to have seen more of him.
Yep.
In fact, Part 5 fucks him over hugely.
Well, it does a lot of people, doesn't it?
Well, an entire franchise.
Let's not talk too much at length about that.
No,
we're trying to be positive here.
Yeah, he does sort of reappear in Part 5. I actually forgot about the sequence where he killed the dog. I remember, obviously, the sequence he goes into the house. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
He's stalking them. He follows into her house. He looks at the photographs. He sees himself,
Yeah.
a young version of Michael. And then when Loomis and Mika turn up, they find the dog. The dog's dead.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of unnerving, you know, very much a throwback to what he does in the first film.
It's one of quite a few that's off camera.
Yes.
There's quite a few kills that are off camera in this one.
Yeah. It does cut down on that sort of visceral response, but it's similar to what the first one does. Putting Michael in the shadows, trying to hide him, going with more of that.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part, a lot of that works.
Uh-huh. What about the barflies?
Yeah, those guys.
I mean, a lot of people hate them. I can't help but laugh every time I see them.
I don't hate them.
Look, this in terms of again the story, it doesn't really add a lot. I can't help
see
but
why
laugh.
they were in.
Yeah.
There's one particular bit that I didn't feel was necessary. I mean, I laugh at it every time I see it.
Yeah.
But it probably wasn't really necessary.
No, none of it was really necessary.
I kind
Although
of get the idea of them being a vigilante posse because they don't have a police force.
I feel like they should have just showed up when they put the word out.
Yep.
Yeah, those guys should have just showed up to find out what was happening.
Yep. Armed to the teeth.
Just in time that we don't have the police force.
Yeah.
We didn't need the bar scene thinking, I'm going to get an explanation.
And what is that? Like, you hear this fucking weird thing as they're running out the door, like, police station telephone doesn't ring. No way, no how. Like, it's like a fucking ADR loop or something. It's like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
It seems like the same mob from Silver Bullet. I mean,
Yeah.
It's a similar level of thought put into their fucking plan before.
It does actually look like the bar that Tom Atkins was drinking at in Maniac Cop.
He might still be there. He might have been in the corner.
And you pointed out Silver Bullet. It actually very much resembles the one from Silver Bullet.
Yeah, there's definitely a special on the menu called the Chalice.
Yeah,
It's fucking double of everything.
Yeah, there's a cocktail.
Yeah.
There's a chalice cocktail.
Yeah.
The next one for me was, I actually liked the sequence where they see all the Michaels surrounding the car.
Yeah, so did I.
There's a few little question marks on how nobody notices him, you know, at the end.
Well, how nobody notices him, why we're still selling masks that remind the town of a serial killer that nobody wants to remember in the town.
There's a couple of questions. A couple of questions on why, but
it is. I like it.
It's an effective sequence.
Yeah.
Especially, I just love the fact that they see the three of them.
Yeah.
And they point their guns at him, they bolt, and then Michael is standing behind the car. I like that idea.
It's good that we managed to get it without Loomis wearing a hat. You know,
as the making of told us.
They decided to reshoot it without his hat. But look, it's a cheap thrill, but I like it.
Yeah, it works for the most part in what it's trying to do. I actually also really like the shot. Again, there's huge question marks on this. The shot with the deputy sheriff on the radio in his car talking to Mika.
Yep.
And then the camera pans back and you can just in the moonlight see Michael's hand in the back seat.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, fuck. Come on.
Yeah,
You can't tell me that you don't see or hear this guy.
Yeah, he appears to just be laying
prone in the back seat.
He's not exactly hiding in there.
Yeah, so...
but he has already had the presence of mind to wipe out all the electricity in town, so maybe he was banking on that.
I think he was.
They wouldn't catch him in the darkness. Again, another sort of cheap thrill, but these are the ones that kind of they tick the boxes that give you a little bit of that excitement, a little bit of that scare that you're looking for. Not in huge doses. And
another one that comes up that I hadn't noticed before, probably because I hadn't watched it on Blu-ray in a cleaned up version. But when Rachel's in the living room talking to the cop in the rocking chair, about what's going on and everything. As she finishes talking to him and starts to walk away, just in the background you see Michael's mask for a few seconds. Yeah. Just sort of appear like it does in the first one when he comes at Laurie. Yep. And then it disappears again. I thought that was a really, really effective moment.
Yeah, nice touch, and done a little bit differently to how it was done in the original. I mean, you didn't notice a nipple in the first one, so how are you to be expected to notice just the small hint of a mask until you saw it on a massive TV cleaned up on Blu-ray?
I think it's all because to the pan and scan.
Yeah.
The DVDs are usually pan and scan, so it loses certain elements. But I really like it. Another very effective sequence. I didn't mind the stuff on the roof.
Yeah, I like that.
It was a nice little bit of cat and mouse with him kind of stalking them in a different setting, because he's not exactly sure on his feet either up there.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't look sure on his feet walking up the stairs.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, the sequence from him emerging from the rocking chair, and making the kill there right up through the rooftop chase is cool. I like that.
Her death is excellent.
Yeah.
Kelly's.
Yeah.
I just love the way they do it. I mean, Michael's in the chair when she first comes in.
Yep.
But the way she lights the candle and then you see the police officer and then he just gets up and he's got the shotgun and the way he uses it rather than shooting her, he just rams it through her. I really like that, it was really effective. And it was a little bit of something different, the death.
Yeah, and it sort of pulled the movie back where it was slowing down a little bit and there was, I was hoping for a bit more Loomis or something. It sort of pulled the excitement back up a little bit over that stretch. So I was pretty happy with that.
I didn't realise this again, how effectively gross that sequence with the guy getting his neck and face ripped.
Yeah.
Because, again, the Blu-ray transfer is really, really cleaned up.
Yeah, cleaned up nicely, and I hadn't seen that
really
quite to that effect.
He really just jams his fingers into his neck and then just tears it open.
Yeah, that was pretty full.
And I really liked that. It was a really effective sort of kill.
Yeah.
Showing kind of his strength and everything like that. Again, a little bit more Jason, as you had pointed out. And the final for me was the ending.
Yes.
It's a ripper. It's a ripper. I mean, it's kind of telegraphed.
It is a little bit towards that end, and quite frankly, there's not really a reason for it to go that direction.
Nah.
So it's I know people were like, they went for this killer ending and then they chickened out with the next one.
But there was nowhere to go.
Michael, but I was sort of like, would it really have been better to have the little kid running around killing people? Like, I'm still not sure about that.
No.
And I felt like throughout this movie, that's not really what I wanted from Jamie either. Like, you developed a bit of a connection with Jamie, which is why the ending works. But I'm still kind of like here nor there on whether that was the right direction to go for the sequel. So I understand why they pulled back and said more Michael.
Yeah, I totally agree. I didn't like what they did with Michael in 5, but
no, neither
at the end of the day, we'd
already
worked
with Jamie in 5 either, really.
But at the end of the day, we'd already worked out that Michael was the star, and we didn't want to go away from him. Part 3 had proven that.
Well, that's right. People say, they didn't have the balls and whatever. But they did. They did have the balls in Halloween 3 and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
I mean, as a movie, it worked out, but for the franchise and the money making, which is crucially important, you're not going to get a sequel if it doesn't make money. They went back to Michael for that reason. So it's a lot to expect that they would have then just abandoned that.
It ends the film on a high, too.
Yeah, I think it does, too.
It ends it with kind of like a kick.
It ends it with a kick. It ends it with peak Ham Pleasance.
Yeah, look, his history on it's a little bit too much. But I think it works in a sense that, Loomis has been such an out there character.
Yeah.
That when he sees her, he kind of just fucking flips his
lid. He loses it, yeah.
So, I kind of appreciated it.
I did.
Do you have any other likes?
Yeah, I don't think we really mentioned Jamie and Rachel.
Yes.
We mentioned it briefly, but bringing the kids back was kind of a nice touch. You see all this stuff that he's doing to these other characters and it's fucking, it's full on. So you're kind of like really fearful that he's going to get a hold of her.
Yeah.
And you're not sure what's going to come out of that. So I think that actually works. And the relationship between her and Rachel is kind of nice. I don't think either of them deliver like a knockout sort of acting performance, but they've got a little bit of chemistry. Like you buy that she really is willing to put her life on the line for this little kid.
Yeah.
Her parents kind of mentioned that earlier. She needs all the love and care that we can give her, and Rachel really comes to embody that through the movie.
Yeah.
So actually, I like that a lot, and I can see why people still have a fondness for Danielle Harris. she's very popular
series,
with
yes.
the Halloween fans.
Yes, totally agree. And I think their relationship works for the most part throughout the film.
Yep.
What other likes? You got any other likes there that we missed?
Aside from shit, Earl, it's Ted
Hollister.
I don't know why I find that so funny, but just the fact that a branch slightly moves. One bloke goes, "He's over there," and then all we see is a shrub kind of wriggle, and these blokes unload a fucking dozen each.
Oh, mate, it's like fucking Predator. They basically shoot down the forest.
Oh, and then he kind of wanders over, and it's like, it's not like we've just killed someone. It's like, oh well, we kind of fluffed that. We did, there's not much of a just. Yeah,
I mean, was Ted Hollister a bastard? Could we sort of wrap him up in the whole...
I think, look, we can assume that by the reaction, Ted Hollister was a bit of a prick.
Yeah.
They didn't really, they said, oh, look, shit, it was Ted Hollister. And I think by the looks on the faces, I was kind of getting a look of, can we make this look like Michael did it?
His MO did not involve shotguns.
No. I think that, I don't know why, it just makes me laugh.
Oh, it does make me laugh. You got anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. Dislikes. As I said before at the start, the first 45 minutes I would say are very well paced.
Yeah, they do what's needed. They get their...
We get the exposition
out of the way to explain how the fuck either of these people are still alive with Loomis and Michael, and
we get Michael into town. We create some suspense and things around him stalking his niece. We create all that. We put Loomis in touch with Mika. We put these two on the collision course again, but then the film slows when they get to the house, which really should be a lifting point. The film lifting at that stage, but it doesn't. It kind of actually goes backwards. It slows.
yeah,
In that period, and it never quite gets back up to where it was for me.
Yeah, I think it does. It does kind of drop off a little bit and does run out of a little bit of steam. Even the ending, it comes to a head pretty quickly. I mean, you do get that sequence in the car and a little bit there, but then it comes to a head pretty quickly after that. So yeah, I would agree with that. I can see why some people might have issues with it. Personally, I didn't find it boring all the way through. Far from it.
No, far from it. And that back end is not boring, so to speak. It loses its pacing.
Yeah.
Which it had held quite well for the first 45.
Yeah.
As I was saying, when they're at the mental hospital,
Yeah.
the guy's walking them up the corridor,
Yeah.
and an orderly is shuffling another inmate through the corridor in a fucking straitjacket.
Yeah.
He looks like bloody Brian May and a queen. It's just such a jarring shot.
Yeah.
Like, this is a mental health facility.
Yeah, and as I said to you, it looks like something from Halloween Horror Nights. One of the bloody things that you walk through and have
someone screams in your face.
Yeah.
It takes you out of that sequence.
It does. I did find that quite amusing too when he walks past and you see Brian May, and then all of a sudden you just hear this from one of the other rooms. It's sort of like, yep, that would have got me jumping if I was walking through this little maze in Horror Nights.
Yeah, I would have just said, listen, roll him out. Just roll him out the front.
Yeah.
We'll take him.
Yeah, just leave him here and we'll pick him up from there.
And the other negative to that sequence is there's a lot of exposition about Michael's history and trying. And I understand what the filmmakers are trying to do. They kind of quickly tie us back to the first two films, wrap all that up, and we move on.
And sort of make it work for someone that hasn't seen the first two films.
Yeah.
Which is sort of, you could get away with that.
And it does okay with that, but it's still pretty clumsy.
It's pretty swift, a little bit clumsy. Another one of my dislikes was it's sort of tied to the sister angle. There's been discussion about whether that worked or not. And they had to run with it for quite a few sequels, really, before it was sort of wiped out with 2018. But it's sort of puts it in a corner of where you can go.
Yeah.
So by not having Jamie Lee Curtis back, this was sort of almost as good as you could hope for with the niece and that sort of angle, that it's still a family connection that he's going for, because that's what they'd explained it to be. but it's still kind of it limits its possibilities a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
And you can see why John Carpenter wasn't interested in going much further, because he told his stories and he felt there wasn't much to go. And you see, well, these guys are retreading things because it kind of has to.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
Because once if Laurie's not there, you've got to concoct another family member.
Yeah. Because
for some reason.
You're saying that Michael's hunting them.
Yeah.
And so take Laurie out of the picture, who's he hunting?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yep.
So they had to give him a kind of a reason to be in Haddonfield. It's kind of successful somewhat, but you're right, it limits the ability to take it much further.
Yeah.
And it probably even hamstrung the next sequel.
Yes.
Even further.
And they, that was one hamstring, and they chose to fucking tear the other one off their own.
There's a French director involved. He was a hamstring himself.
Yeah.
What is it about fucking mental health professionals in Haddonfield who want to, transport serial or fucking spree killers by ambulance and or bus?
I don't know.
Without a shackle in sight.
Yeah.
He is not shackled to that bed at all.
No, that's what, as we were saying, he should be shackled by the hands, he should be shackled by the feet, his fucking ball bag should be shackled to his...
Yeah, if he moves one hand, it's just shackled to his nuts, so he...
Yeah, I mean, even if so he hasn't moved in bloody 10 years or whatever they say, a little bit of precaution might still be required, just in case.
I'll accept a fucking saw-like trap to put him in, like one of those... the bloody thing that separates your head, Put him in one of them.
I would be, if I was signing off on that, and I wouldn't because I'm an idiot, so I would never be a doctor, but hey, if I'm in that position, I'm fucking signing it off. I'm not even reading it. T's and C's. Oh, fuck, yeah. Tick that off. Can you just put a squiggle on that?
Your signature's on the transfer papers. It is? What?
But no, if it was me, I'd be sitting there going, do I want to be known as the idiot that let Michael Myers out again? I really don't. So when I send him out bloody wrapped up in friggin' handcuffs, I would have wrapped him in gaffer tape too, just to be sure.
And let me tell you, there's a fucking loaded shotgun at his head every second of the ride.
Yeah.
If he even moves, he gets his fucking head blown off.
Yeah. I think it's kind of funny.
You got to swallow a little.
You do. You got to.
I mean, you wouldn't move a prisoner that dangerous.
But can we have could we just get somebody to try to craft something a little bit different about how he gets out, other than Rob Zombie?
yeah, true. I mean, look, what we don't need is rape involved in his escape.
Exactly.
But even the new Halloween. It kind of... They just went over the top of it.
Yeah. The only good part about that was that they decided to have her sit there and say, I'm going to watch it because I know what's going to happen. Like, kind of, yeah.
But he was shackled, though, in that one.
Oh, yeah, but not well enough, of course.
No, but this one's even worse. I mean, I guess they're trying to say, well, he's in a coma. So
mate, I'm putting him in fucking Donald Pleasance's pod from Escape from New York. Mate, you can't get out of that motherfucker.
That bloke is not getting out of it.
That's right.
Seriously, he's like fucking Cosentino or something. He's fucking doing some sort of underwater bloody... He's doing some sort of underwater... He needs to do an underwater escape trick to get out there.
Yeah. The other question is why are they fucking shipping him back and forth? He looked pretty comfortable in the basement at Ridgemont. Just fucking leave him there.
I don't know. My way of doing it is accidentally turning off his life support. I bumped it. I didn't know.
I think they got a form that said, "Hey, Dr. Adams signed this one off." Did I? Yeah, you've transferred him to fucking Smithsgrove again. Oh, shit.
You know what it is? It's been a long-running gag for 10 years between Smithsgrove and Haddonfield.
Oh, that was actually a letter from my bank to fucking to approve a funds transfer to a prince in Africa that I got an email from. Actually, I fucking signed the wrong form.
Yeah, he said he can't get out here right now, but if I send him $5,000, he'll be on the next plane.
Yeah, I'll be rolling it. I won't be at Smithsgrove next month.
I know what it was. It's a prank between football teams. Your mission is to bring Michael Myers.
Break
into the sanitarium and bring him back to Haddonfield.
Yeah, pledge. you're pledging to this fraternity, you need to get over to Ridgemont and sign a transfer form to Michael Myers back to Smith's Grove. That's how it works. Once again, I'm saying I'm heading over to the next town and I'll pledge their fraternity.
As I said, mate, if I'm the doctor, they come to pick him up, they get down there to check him. Oh, shit, he's dead. Oh, his life support, the plug to the life support's been knocked out. The cleaner must have ring.
I thought
when
that
they
was
were vacuuming, they knocked it out.
I thought that was the air conditioning.
I needed to charge my phone. I needed a plug. Damn it.
Yeah, that's the way it should. That's the way it should have gone down.
Yeah. So you don't transport dangerous criminals in one fucking van.
Yeah.
With no protection, no shackling, no anything.
Yeah.
Like the movie's trying to say that he's in a coma. There's no need for the precautionary measures that are, and Hoffman's cutting corners or whatever. That's the gist you get.
Yep.
But it's still very hard to swallow.
Yeah, but as I said, the whole thing the first time around was that he fooled them for years to run this escape, and Loomis was the one that saw it. So now Loomis is saying, what are you doing? Maybe just say, we probably could assign another guard to that fucking detail or something, like figure something out.
Yeah. Put him in the genital cuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Like something like that.
Put him in a squirrel cuff and fucking...
fucking dare you to get up out of that.
Yeah, I don't think even Michael Myers could stop that one. Back onto the Michael Jason thing again. I don't dislike the performance of Michael, and I don't necessarily dislike it in the movie either, but there's a couple of parts where you look at it and you say, this approach takes away the boogeyman and makes it more superhuman fucking monster.
Yes.
Rather than that spooky kind of showing
and
up in the background and then disappearing. And as you said, that there's a couple of moments in here where they get a little bit of that Halloween one where his car turns up, or you see him in the background briefly and then you don't see him. I think more of that would have been better, and less of the Jason-esque thumb through forehead and fucking things like that.
I still can't understand the thumb through forehead. I mean, we could have just had him bash that guy's head until it turned into mush.
Yeah.
You know. We didn't have to insert your thumb into his skull. I mean, it's the last time I checked. The skull was a fucking hard piece of bone. I mean, it doesn't just go through.
He puts his thumb through that like fucking me testing fruit at the fucking at the supermarket and accidentally, oh shit, and just covering it up.
He's testing a fucking, a pear or something, and like it. Look, that's probably the least enjoyable. Like that to me, that was one of the least. I didn't really like that one because it just seems so strange.
I always used to like that one, and now I'm kind of like, I've turned on it a little bit.
I just would have had him bash the guy's head in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would have worked just as well. Pull back on that a little bit and ramp up a little bit more on the Michael in the background and that sort of thing.
You could have left that out entirely and then just had, there's been an accident.
Well, they did a lot of that. They did a lot of him someone finding the body without showing the kill, which kept it in that
realm of the first film.
Yeah. So I think a little bit more towards that would have made it would have been in its favour a little bit.
Yeah, look, the kids at school.
Oh.
I mean, I think you're overstepping the line by saying Jamie's an orphan.
Yeah, come on.
I mean, where did you get that from? You're about 10.
Settle down, kids.
Stepping over a line.
Yeah.
My book, not good.
Especially when one of the kids comes back later. I'm pretty sure it's the same kid.
Yeah.
Right? He goes, that clown costume's really cool. You want to come trick-or-treating with us?
Don't fucking
I'm turning around
me.
saying, piss off. You're bloody taunting me a little while ago.
Don't speak to me, mate.
Yeah.
You've had your chance. You're out. I actually felt that was kind of a little bit in bad taste.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think it was a little bit too much.
Again,
especially coming from kids. Like, it would have been easier to cop if it was teenagers, maybe.
Yeah, it was a little bit clumsy. They could have still got that same thing happening without maybe making every kid in the fucking class seem like a little bit of an arsehole.
Yeah.
It was only that 3 there, but it just seemed like this whole, everyone was against us sort of thing.
You mentioned the thing about why are they selling Halloween masks. of a person that was a serial killer. I think that's strange.
Yeah. Yep.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
To be selling a mask. I understand they're saying it's 10 years later, but he did kill 16 people and everyone knew what he was wearing.
Yes.
At the time. Right?
Correct.
So why would you be selling those masks? It makes no sense.
And I mean, once Michael gets a hold of it, we learn that they're fucking dime store bloody inferior copies anyway.
Well, one of them's pink.
Yeah, that's right.
So
pink blonde haired character.
That is one of the worst sequences in the film.
Well,
when he appears in that mask, you only see it for a split second, but it's long enough to show that it was totally different.
Yeah.
Because it's when he throws him out the window, and they actually have the front on shot, and they actually have it from the back.
It's very brief.
It's still the same mask.
Yeah.
So the director's saying in the making of, oh, look, I think people were just tired, no one knew. Bullshit, you managed, you did 2 setups.
Mate,
so you must have known what you were dealing with.
I mean, there's tired. You know, I've been tired before, but I think if you rocked up in a pink Michael Myers mask with blonde hair, I think I'd say, we're not using that, are we?
That's not
That's not the mask.
That's not the one.
Yeah. And it happened, you know, they mentioned that it happened again with Donald Pleasance shooting the whole fucking scene in his hat and nobody noticing. I think Donald wasn't the only one that was drinking between takes.
Yeah. Like someone gets paid.
I don't think it's tired.
Someone gets paid to make sure that shit's not done.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's there's a little bit of, that's the cheapness of the production coming through. The guy that picks Loomis up on the road, the preacher guy, that whole sequence, including the kids pulling up and saying, come on old man, then driving off on him. That's just padding for me.
Where are the morals in Hatfield here?
But just cut all that. And he turns up at the police station at night.
The school district needs to be hauled in and fucking spoken about.
So the fucking school district requires a bloody a royal commission, and so does the mental health facilities in these areas.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know, the priest
seems like he's kind of spouting this stuff about, you can't kill the devil, and it's kind of like, you're chasing the devil. I think it's trying to sort of dive back into the whole thing about evil.
It takes a moment where it feels like it's trying to get a little bit deeper into fucking Loomis's psyche and why he feels the need to do this.
Yeah, but then it's like it's 2 minutes, so it doesn't really add much anyway.
Yeah, and why we needed to do it with a bloke who's fucking sneezing on his hand and then offering it up for a handshake and then giving Loomis a large bottle of piss to swill out of.
By the way, Sam, wipe the bottle.
Wipe the bottle.
Your mouth.
As you pointed out, Donald probably said, "Cut, I messed that one up."
I need 50 takes. I require 50 takes for this scene and a bigger bottle.
I think so.
All right, here's where we get into some interesting stuff. Brady, when he gets told we're no longer going out tonight because Rachel's looking after looking after Jamie, he gets a bit shitty. When they're coming around to doing trick or treating, she comes across Brady in Kelly's place.
Yep.
He then runs out and says to her, "Look." She says, "I thought you were different from us." "I am different," he says. Then he proceeds to backtrack on that and basically say, "I'm different, but I just got pissed off and wanted to fuck someone else." It just seems like it's the most weak excuse.
Yeah.
And it's so hypocritical.
Yeah, I thought you were different. I am. But she took her pants off.
She showed me a boob. What could I do?
I was powerless.
Yeah, I was powerless. But I'm still a good look. After this is over, I'm still a decent... I'm a different guy. I'm different from the rest of them.
Yeah, let's not debate this.
Brady, you are no different from Wade.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
and Wade are cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Wade's free too, though. And he'll come to your place.
Yeah. Well, Wade's got a different sort of tick and flick sort of situation with regards to what he will and won't do.
That's right.
E.g., he'll wait it out.
Yeah,
He'll turn up.
He'll turn up.
Like, whatever you tell him to do, he'll be there.
That's right.
I mean, fuck, he will go trick-or-treating with you.
I think that's right. He'll walk around all night. There won't be a single complaint. And you know he's not a chance. If he turns up at Kelly's place, he's not getting let in the door.
Yeah, there's no chance that she possibly... He got caught in her spider's There's no chance he got caught in the spider's web that is Kelly's sexual energy, because he's already been rebuffed by her.
That's right. I feel like Wade's the hero of the piece. He should have been, you should have looked in that direction.
Well, Wade's the better cash. His clothing, for starters, was better. Yeah. Secondly, he had cash. He puts cash, cold hard cash on that table. Yeah. There's a lot of ones in it, I noticed. Yeah. But still...
I mean, he's got cash. Clearly, he's got cash to spend frivolously, too. I mean, he's backed himself in there when he was a long shot, so he's...
Yeah, he was like 100 to 1. Yeah. He was 100 to 1 there. But he would have been better off betting against getting a date.
That's right.
But yeah, Wade, Jesus, put Brady to the side and get Wade on board.
Yep.
All right. The vigilante group. I didn't have a problem with the vigilante. I didn't have a problem with the vigilante group in theory.
It's silly,
but you don't need Ted Hollister. The death of Ted Hollister.
Well,
because it doesn't.
I did.
Unless you want to laugh about it.
Yeah.
But I feel you don't need the Ted Hollister thing, because you've already proven that these guys are looking for Michael Myers and they're hair trigger. They've already sort of fronted the sheriff and pretty much said, you didn't do your job last time. And then Loomis kind of riles them up as a lynch mob because they don't have a police force.
Yeah.
All that works.
I think they should have done, all they needed to do was what you said, take a leaf out of the Simpsons book and say, yeah, we're taking care of this ourselves. We're a responsible group of adults. Sorry.
Me again. That's it. They're a neighbourhood watch.
Yeah. I think that would have worked a treat.
Just get rid of Ted Hollister. You don't need Ted Hollister's death. You don't need Ted Hollister's blood on your hands. There's no need to fucking strafe the entire area and kill Ted Hollister. Because you thought you saw Michael Myers.
Oh,
and we already know that Michael Myers is not there.
Yeah.
So that doesn't even work. The sequence does not even work as like a bait and switch.
I need a short film.
We might have seen Myers. They may have got Myers.
I need a short film in the vein of kind of the Robot Chicken skits, where you'd get the day in the life of the stormtrooper and everything was going great before he fucking got shot in a critical scene of Star Wars. I need a short film of how what Ted Hollister was up to before that happened. Was Ted kind of was he having a good day? Was he on the way out?
Yeah, I need to know what Ted Hollister's doing.
Yeah,
but it doesn't even work as a little bit of a did they kill Myers or not?
No,
because we already know Myers is not there. He's at the house,
and it didn't work with the Ben Tramer sort of thing because he was dressed like Michael. We didn't even see Ted Hollister.
He was dressed like Michael. he had also bought a dime store Michael Myers.
That's right. He bought one of the pink ones with the blonde hair.
Poor old Ted was ready for a night of Halloween trick or treating, and then got shot.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, look, which one was worse, Ben Tramer's death or Ted Hollister's?
Oh, Tramer's, because Ted Hollister's going quick. Ben Tramer's fucking bloody crinkled on a car hood that then proceeds to blow up. He's in a bit of pain. He's not going quickly. I don't think that's instant impact. I think he's cooking for a little bit.
Poor old Ben Tramer's hit by an out of control fucking NASCAR. Part 2.
Yeah, Sheriff Earnhardt Jr. fucking comes into the fucking Deputy Earnhardt fucking pile driving with the next car.
And as Gibbo said, I think in the part 2, they just leave the guy there.
Yeah, that's right.
We've got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, he's fucked. We don't even need to worry about that. Yeah. Nothing we can do.
Look, that wasn't Myers. Good. Let's move on.
Yeah, process of elimination. That's one down.
Yeah. Write this in your book. It wasn't Ben Tramer. Okay, let's move on. Why does Michael manage to find a very conveniently secreted butcher's knife in the attic?
Yeah, strange.
Like it's like he hadn't come prepared.
No.
But here's one we've just happened to have.
Yeah.
I mean, that was really, and in fact, that was really lazy because they actually shot the insert of him pulling it out.
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
I would have been more happy that you
And
didn't even show me, and then he just appeared.
Well, it was like a little box of kitchen utensils in the attic.
I know, that's where I keep my extras.
Silly. Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's so many ways to do it. They could have had bloody...
Well, just don't show me that.
Well, don't show me.
And then he turns up on the roof with a knife. I'm not even asking questions.
Not asking where he got it from. But it's Halloween. People are carving pumpkins.
Knives are everywhere.
Laying around everywhere.
Yeah.
We're in that situation, but you still had me questioning where he got a knife from because that's the way you chose to do it. You waited until he got into the attic before he got one.
Yeah. Oh, look, people are carving pumpkins left and right. I mean, there are butcher's knives the size of your head laying all over the place.
Exactly.
All right. The last one for me was, well, how did they get that pink-coloured mask involved? I am just baffled. That sequence is awful. It is awful. He kind of just appears next to me. He looks like some sort of scared clown or something because his mask is pink and his hair's all white and it's kind of all brushed back.
Well, he's got, it's an unusual pink colour. It's a bleached blonde hair. For a moment, I thought it was fucking badass Billy Gunn popping in to throw him out the window. I know, that's Michael with a strangely discoloured mask.
Oh, it is shocking. And as I said, I don't believe what the director's telling us. That, look, people were tired, we must have just got the wrong one. No. You shot several shots of it.
Well, they reckon they didn't open them till they got on the set. So
yeah, but that's when you go, listen, let's do another setup somewhere else.
But to me, it sounds like it reeks of... We don't have the money and time to do this again.
This will only take they'll only be really quick cuts, so we won't see it.
Yeah, we've got to get something with this mask.
They shouldn't, because it was absolutely shocking.
Well, fucking go and get a bit of fucking boot polish and rub it through the hair or something.
Well,
do something. You don't shoot it with a blonde.
Haven't you got effects crew on standby? That's what they're there for. Can't they just paint the mask quickly
or something? Yeah, I don't know.
It's just, it was really shit because the mask looks fucking awful.
Yeah, it does. It looks terrible.
And the fact that you will actually leave it in the film instead of going, look, we need to take an extra hour's work tomorrow and reshoot that.
That said, again, I never picked it up on VHS.
Well, I mean, the darkened tones and stuff probably hit it better.
I only had one more, and it was to do with the score.
Yeah.
I felt like the theme was overused a little bit. The Halloween, the classic theme.
Yeah.
And I know there was, the original had other bits of music.
Yeah,
that were solid. They were good bits of music. It wasn't just that one piece, right? I felt like there was portions where you could have used more of that or more impactful use of those other ones as well.
Yeah.
Because it just felt like every time we heard it,
it was that, yes.
Yeah.
They didn't particularly diversify very much.
No. And it's a classic. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just kind of saying that, there was a lot.
Yeah. I think that's fair. So nothing else from you?
No. I think we fucking shot Ted Hollister as many times as we could shoot him.
Yeah. I gunned that bloke down. Big time. That's Halloween 4. Return of Michael Myers. You can find us on Podomatic, iTunes and Spotify. Send us an email at thrillme@iinet.net.au. We're on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia and at Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com. We're also on Instagram at thrillmepodcastau. Try to rate and review us if you can on iTunes and Podomatic, as it helps us to spread the word. Our next episode, keep an eye on the Facebook page for details, and we'll let you know what we've got coming up. But until then, take it easy, and we'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers. Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.